സർ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തോ നിമിഷ?
ഇല്ല മിസ്, ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല.
ഞാൻ വിളിച്ചിരുന്നു, ഞാൻ വിളിച്ചു, ഞാൻ കട്ടായപ്പോൾ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്.
സർ മെസ്സേജ് കണ്ടോ?
ഇല്ല സർ, ഞാൻ വിളിച്ചു.
ജുൽഫ എവിടെ പോയി? ജുൽഫില്ലേ?
Yes, ma'am.
അനക്കാച്ചി റെഡി അല്ലേ ഫോർ പ്രേയർ?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Ma'am, you asking
Yes.
me?
Ma'am, we will
Yeah.
sir to join. Once he joins, we'll start the talk.
Yes, sure. Even I'm texting him to join as soon as
I just
possible.
called him and he told he'll be joining soon.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. So, shall we start the program, sir? The
Yes,
comparing.
How about Pranami, ma'am? Has she joined?
Yeah. She's already there.
Okay, great. Yeah. We'll begin, ma'am. Thank you.
Wafa.
Good evening to each one of you. My name is Wafa from 3rd BBA. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this insightful event presented by the Research and Development Cell. Do we all have the tendency to continue to scroll through bad news, even though that news is saddening, disheartening, or depressing? And did we all know that there was a term for this feeling, which is doom scrolling? I'm very happy to tell you today that this feeling do not have to continue. We have got our distinguished speakers, Professor Rishikesh and Dr. Pranami Sharma here to talk to us. It is mark of our undying tradition to invoke the Almighty at the beginning of an event. I call upon Anaga for the prayer.
प्रपञ्चनाथा प्रमोदरूपा त्रिलोकनाथा कृपाकरा प्रसादभावा दयानिकेता प्रपञ्चनाथा नमो नमः करुणामयने परिपालकने अखिलेश्वरने जयदायकने करुणामयने परिपालकने अखिलेश्वरने जयदायकने पावनचरिता सद्गुरुदेवा जय गुरुनाथा जयनाथा पावनचरिता सद्गुरुदेवा जय गुरुनाथा जयनाथा प्रपञ्चनाथा प्रमोदरूपा त्रिलोकनाथा कृपाकरा प्रसादभावा दयानिकेता प्रपञ्चनाथा नमो नमः.
Thank you, Anaga, for the prayer. We all feel blessed. I would like to invite Padwa to formally welcome the guest.
Good afternoon to each and everyone present here. I sincerely welcome each and everyone who has gathered in this online platform to know about the topic doom scrolling. Doom scrolling refers to the tendency to continue to surf or scroll through bad news, even though the news is saddening, disheartening, or depressing. Many people finding themselves reading continuously about the bad news regarding COVID-19 without the ability to stop or step back. I would like to emphasize on the fact that doom scrolling may not affect a person's positivity, but might also interfere with his regular conversations throughout the day. Therefore, it is necessary that we make sure our day starts and ends with the right amount of information and with the news delivered with utmost integrity. So, with great pleasure and honor, I welcome Assistant Professor Mr. Rishikesh KV Sir and Dr. Pranami Sharma Ma'am to enlighten us on this topic. With all due respect, we welcome you on behalf of the Providence Women's College, Department of Business Administration, and R&D Cell. Thank you for joining us, sparing your precious time, and sharing this valuable information to each and every one of us. I also welcome the HOD of our department, Mrs. Deepa Ma'am, and other faculty members, R&D coordinators, Priyadarshini Ma'am and Sangeeta Ma'am, and all the participants present in the meet. Once again, welcoming each and everybody who is attending today's session. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Wafa?
Thank you, Fadwa. Moving on next to the introduction of our resource persons, I call upon our HOD, Deepa Ma'am.
Let me express my heartful gratitude and indebtedness to Professor Rishikesh KB and Dr. Pranami Sharma for being with us today. Professor Rishikesh KB is an alumnus of Delhi School of Economics, qualified MPhil, MCom, and MBA UGC NET in Commerce and Management subjects. Currently pursuing PhD and works as faculty at Christ University, Bangalore. Worked earlier with SRCC, Providence Women's College, FIMS, and as Senior Research and Publications Associate at IIM Kozhikode. Published articles in journals of repute and presented papers at international and national conferences, invited as resource person and faculty development program, academic and corporate workshops. Professor writes in the New Indian Express and the Hindu newspaper, has a book translation to his credit, runs a discussion forum, Let's Chat, and a YouTube channel, Learners Loop. Coming to Dr. Pranami Sharma, she is an assistant professor in the Department of Commerce, Christ University. She has work experience of more than 11 years in the field of teaching. She holds a master's degree in commerce, LLB, and PhD from Guwahati University and PGDHRM from IGNOU. She has worked closely for the development of underprivileged sections of society in various ways. I welcome both of you once again for the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa Ma'am. Let me welcome our resource persons to take on the platform.
Thank you very much for that very generous and kind introduction. Just as Deepa Ma'am had mentioned, I had began my career at Providence Women's College, so I owe a lot to, especially to the then principal, because I was the only faculty moving around in the campus in a girls-only college, and that too in my early days of my career. And it was fun, and today if I've become something and if I'm confident enough to speak in front of such a large audience, it's primarily because of the exposure which I've got from, or rather I've built from Providence Women's College. So huge respect to you, and also for this opportunity of staying connected even after leaving Providence. And yet again, I thank my all my former colleagues. And I must also thank Pranami Sharma, who she's my colleague at Christ University. And when Deepa ma'am I think about a month back, had a discussion about organizing a national webinar, they had considered us. And today, we'll be spending about 1.5 to 2 hours together. We have split the session as 1 hour each, and I'll be discussing the theory part of it. Later, ma'am has her points of view. So thank you at the outset from both Pranami Sharma ma'am and also on my behalf. Given that little introduction about what we would be doing in the next 1 hour, I just intend to ask you a very cliched question. Is my screen visible? Am I audible?
Yes.
Can you see me? Yeah. Can I get a thumbs up, or can you just say yes or no in the chat box? Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Thank you. Okay, that was a response from Pranami, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for that. I thought I won't go with a traditional cliched introduction slide where we welcome everyone, because by and large, if you look at the past 18 months of our life, I think this picture would resonate or resemble with not just our personal life, but also in our professional lives. All of us, I'm sure, are eagerly awaiting the new normal, but we don't know when it is. And life has become so very unpredictable. Life has become unimaginable, and it's quite unprecedented ever in human history. I thought technology has advanced a lot, science has advanced a lot, and never ever in the wildest of the dreams have I thought that I would sit at home and talk to the icons in the screen, which we have to presume as teaching and learning. But things have changed. Past 18 months, things have changed thanks to COVID. Post-COVID probably had helped us to look at enjoying this very moment of life. The hard reality of the fact is that this is the only moment that we have in hand. Companies have redesigned or kind of revisited their long-term planning or long-term strategic decision making, because you can't think about what will happen probably a week later. Now there is high prediction about the third wave. We were planning to get ourselves vaccinated by December, but then going by the current statistics, we don't know when all of us will get vaccinated. And there are even discussions about whether vaccination is enough to keep ourselves immune to the expected different waves or whatever is awaiting us. So things in the past 18 months have changed a lot, to an extent that by and large, most of our emotions is what I was trying to depict through the first slide. I was frustrated about 1 year, 6 months prior. It was all very exciting because I ended up learning a lot of new online platforms. WebEx was new to me. Google Meet and conducting classes was new to me. And a lot of online teaching and learning methods was quite exciting. But that excitement got over by, for me at least, by October and September. Because basically, all of us are social beings. We like being with people. We like talking to people. We like socializing. But then today, it's been 18 months that we have been connected virtually, and that's the reason why a lot of sociologists say that today the focus should be on connecting at an analog level, because all of us are extremely good at connecting digitally. We all have presence in social media platforms. Majority of us, I assume, do have presence with social media platforms. But then it so happened that in about a year back, I got a message in Instagram from one of my students who had graduated 6 years ago. And we have never had contacts with each other. But this message was quite surprising because of the several other conversations that we had after that. And the conversation that we had was like this. This student belongs to one of the most palatial, his father owns, his family owns one of the most palatial bungalow in Bangalore. And he's the only boy in his family, or male in his family, and the rest 3 were elder sisters. And it was first time ever in his life that for about 1 year, he had to spend his life only with his family members. His mom, dad, and his 3 sisters. And whenever he goes out of his house, every second minute, he gets a phone call from home. Beta, how are you doing? Are you safe? You come back fast. I hope you've taken, you're wearing the mask. I hope you've taken the sanitizer. Now, his own biological parents and his siblings were hovering around every moment, every split second, that it became so frustrating for him that he eventually ended up asking me, "Sir, can I stay away from my family? I just can't handle the amount of love and care which, even if it's my own parents, are giving me so much. I just can't handle it." And the second part of the conversation is, "Sir, I've already found a paying guest accommodation. I want to shift to that." And if you understand his background, he is one of the richest family. He comes from one of the richest family in Bangalore. He owns a huge property in Bangalore. None of that was satisfying him. And then we had a conversation with one of my friends who's working with Nimhans, Dr. Manoj Sharma. He owns a clinic by the name Shut. Shut is the first internet de-addiction center in India. And we had an extended conversation in which he said, "Rishi, it is not an individual problem. It is a family problem, and we need counseling not for that student, but we actually need counseling for the whole family." And I don't want to explain the second part of the story. So the point here is, most of the time that this child, this 23-year-old kid was spending was online. For him, going to office was online. Enjoyment was online, playing video games. Connecting with people was online. Talking to friends was online. Everything, when it had shifted online, again, he just couldn't balance it. And I'm sure it resonates with, or I'm sure all of you are, most of you are in a position to connect with what I'm trying to say. Our life in the past 18 months had changed a lot, and it is quite unprecedented in human history. And that's the reason why I didn't have another slide. I thought this is a little more appropriate to have a conversation, to initiate a conversation, because this resembles the way our life has changed. But then I also realized after, as I said, the initial months of lockdown, I realized that I missed the happiness which I had pre-pandemic, or when we were in the old normal. Something was missing in life. And then I started reading, understanding, reflecting, talking to my friends who are in the business of connecting with people, helping them resolve their personal, professional chaos, confusions, and then a lot of clarity evolved. And that is what both of us will be sharing with you. How is it that I managed coming out of the frustrations which I had because of the overindulgence in technology, or because of the increased screen time, because of the digital dependency, or we were all enslaved by these electronic gadgets, because nobody can be blamed. That was the only option. That was the only way out. But then there was something, as I said, that was missing in life. And then I realized that I discovered the answers in 5 W's and 1 H. And what are those 5 W's? What, when, where, why, how, and from whom do I find happiness? 5 W's. What is it that actually leads to happiness? Why people are unhappy? How do we find happiness? From whom do we find happiness? Or rather, where do we find happiness? I mean, that's something which kind of helped me discover, or probably rediscover, happiness in the times that we are currently living in. And that insight is what we'll be discussing with you. So I did some basic high school science and found that it is a dose which actually does bring in happiness. And dose is an abbreviation. It denotes to 4 different chemicals which gets evolved in our body. And what are those 4 chemicals? Or rather, if we can put it in a question format, are we getting the daily dose of those chemicals? How to get that daily dose of happiness chemicals? And what are those happiness chemicals? The first one is dopamine. If you feel motivated, if you find pleasure in doing something, what you get is a dopamine kick. When someone trusts you, if you succeed in building a good relationship, a good bonding with someone, oxytocin is another chemical which gets released in our body. When someone gives you a hug, someone pats on your back and says, yes, you've done a good job, or someone just gives you a handshake, cuddle, it's a love hormone. It plays an important role in bonding, not just in emotional bonding, but also in our physical bonding. It comes serotonin. When somebody makes you feel significant or important among the peers. Now, Providence Women's College has made me feel important because around 100 of you have decided to spend probably about 2 hours of your time listening to us. I mean, probably one chemical that's getting released in my body is serotonin, because you're making me feel significant or making me feel important. Then comes endorphin. When you feel euphoric, when you come out of a sort of a physical pain. So these are the 4 chemicals which actually gets released in our body and which are known as the happiness chemicals. So the fundamental question here is, how do we get these daily dose of happiness chemicals? I'm going to the basics of finding happiness. Now, I'll leave that point for discussions later. But the topic that we have chosen is like an elephant in the room. It's a metaphor that we normally use in academics. What do you mean by elephant in the room? Everyone knows that this is a big problem, but nobody dares to discuss about it. Everyone knows that we're all addicted to technology and devices. And there's no way out except I mean, the solutions are there, which we'll be discussing later. But how do we ensure that we discover happiness in the times that we live in? How do we minimize the dependency, or rather over dependency on or enslavement of technology? That's a question we'll try to answer. Both of us will attempt giving you some solutions, as I said, from our own personal life experiences, from our own insights, our reading, our reflection, our research, whatever we have come across is what we'll be discussing. Now, one question again, which I would like to raise is, what occupies your free time? Now, when I say free time, I think I need to give you a context. Assume you are sitting or waiting in a lounge in an airport, waiting for your flight. What occupies that free time in single quotes? Or you're standing in a queue, you're waiting in a bank or in a grocery shop or in a supermarket for billing. What occupies your free time? By and large, what does occupy your free time? Is it this? I actually wanted to see your responses in the chat box, but since I've made it full screen, I'm not in a position to. But by and large, a lot of electronic gadgets that we use has been occupying our, in single quotes again, free time. Now, one of the things that we need to understand is the topic that we have chosen, which is doom scrolling, talks about how much people are dependent on these devices and how much these devices and other different platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or whatever other social media platforms through which we are connected are designed itself in such a way that it increases your digital consumption. So it is we who have to be kind of really be alert and careful of how much time we are spending. So let's try to understand at first what exactly is a theoretical concept of doom scrolling. Now, doom scrolling as a concept is when you keep scrolling through all your social media feeds looking for the most recent upsetting news about a latest catastrophe. It's not the positive news. You're looking for news which are upsetting. And the amount of time spent doing this is directly proportional to how much worse you're likely to feel later. So I repeat, you keep searching for news which has negative shades, and because you've spent a lot of time reading these negatives, or you're feeding yourself a lot of negative vibes, it results in your later emotional well-being as well. It reflects, or it is directly proportional to how much you feel worse later on that you've spent so much of time reading only negative news. Now, this is extremely common, especially post-pandemic, because post-pandemic has been giving a lot of negative news. In fact, a lot of fake news. The head of World Health Organization, WHO, had said, we are not just dealing with pandemic, we are actually dealing with infodemic, the epidemic of information. Because there were a lot of theories evolving. One theory is that it emerged from a lab in Wuhan in China. Another theory evolves about another experiment. And then there were a lot of rage, a lot of war, emotional war, technology war among countries trying to isolate China. assuming that China is doing a bio-war across the globe. So lots and lots of theories, and people kept searching for it. And that's how the concept of doom scrolling became popular. So doom scrolling can be compared to an older phenomenon which existed in 1970s. And it's called mean world syndrome. Now, mean world syndrome is a very negative connotation that we attach to the realities of the life that we are living in. Mean world syndrome is something which makes people say that nothing in the world is proper. Everything is, in organizational behavior, if you've learned, there is something called I am okay, you are okay. I am okay, you are not okay. I am not okay, only you are okay. And the worst is, I am also not okay, you are also not okay. In transactional analysis, when we discuss about this theory, I mean, that's the worst thing, worst kind of a mindset. And this is what a mean world syndrome is, which was quite common and popular in 1970s. And today what we experience or what we are doing is doom scrolling is not very different. We think none of the world and none of the things that are happening around is right or proper. Yeah, that's what the theory of doom scrolling says. We'll be taking not much of theory part because there are lots of other things which are quite relatable for us, on which we'll be spending more time. So the problem spending time on negative news is it results in a negativity bias. Negative events have a larger impact on the mental well-being than the good ones. I'll just show a small image. It makes us subconsciously give a more psychological significance only to the negative experiences than the positive ones, which might outnumber. Now just look at the image. There are a lot of good things happening around, but your prism, your focus is only on the negativities that goes around. That's the reason why we consider doom scrolling as really suicidal. And as I said, this term had gained popularity during COVID-19 pandemic. Later, George Floyd protest, I hope you remember, an African American was in a way brutally being killed. Yeah, which resulted in a lot of protest thereafter. And then after the presidential election, the storming of the United States Capitol was another incident which people kept searching for, in addition to the COVID-19 related negative news and the infodemic or the pandemic related negative news that was going around. So all of these had actually propelled or increased people's search for negativities online. And that's why we are saying that doom scrolling is actually suicidal. And we need to be aware of that. We need to be, I think we need to, as academicians, and that's the reason we have chosen this topic, we need to sensitize people about how catastrophic this doom scrolling is. And therefore, in addition to doom scrolling, what we also propagate or what we request you or probably suggest you is to practice certain digital detoxification methods, which can be done consciously, provided you are aware or self-aware of how much time you are unwantedly spending online or unproductively spending online. Yeah, when being digital turns toxic than tonic, it is a sort of a red signal, and that's something which we'll be spending more time on. And it's extremely common among people of all generations. It is not just probably Gen X or Gen Y. It is extremely common. I mean, if I can state something from my own family, my dad was extremely technology averse. his only expertise was to make a call, do a WhatsApp message. Probably when I was at Bangalore, used to do a video call. I mean, those were the minimal things. But almost 24/7, he's now online with his electronic gadget. He's either busy in his iPad or he's busy with his mobile. So my point here is cross section of society, people of all age and gender are into technology these days. Again, thanks again to COVID-19, but then we need to be conscious about how much time we are spending online. So I was setting two contexts, or rather we need to understand two contexts to understand this topic a little more in depth. The first context is the kind of challenges which COVID-19 has brought in. We of course can't, run away from it. And there is another challenge which has come along with it, which is the Industry 4.0. We need to be aware of how much Industry 4.0 is changing our lives. These are the two aspects which I'll spend a little time to give you a little more deeper understanding, and then I'll get into the topic. And I'm just, probably I've taken about 20 minutes to set a context, but then this is important for us to understand this topic. Now, on 6th of August 1991, I use this slide quite often in most of my presentation because this is an important day for all of us. It was on 6th of August that internet had become accessible for you and me. Till then, it was used only by the US Army. And what happens after 6th of August is 1991 is the opportunities or the challenges that we had or that was confined to local and linear had become global and exponential. Only imagination is the limit. We are connected globally through different platforms like Facebook. Initially, it was Orkut. I still remember in my college days, it was Orkut. Then we shifted to Facebook. Then there is LinkedIn, Instagram. There is, so many other platforms through which we stay connected. Everything has its, every platform has its merits and demerits, but that's not something which is important for us. Now, the more important aspect is post 6th of August, the way we stay connected has changed. Now, I mentioned about 1991, but by 1996 itself, or to be more precise, in 1995, Ivan Goldberg, an American psychiatrist, had coined a term called internet addiction disorder. In a span of just 5 years, a new concept or a new, I would say, an emotional commitment that we all give knowingly or in a subconsciously had evolved, which is internet addiction disorder. And this article got published in 1995. And we need to have a little more deeper understanding of what is internet addiction disorder, so that the later part when Dr. Pranami ma'am comes and shares her viewpoints about how to get rid of this addiction, I think it becomes more relatable. Now, by 2009, when another paper by Kimberly S. Young, though it was published in 1996, it gained more acceptance and popularity by 2009. A research paper had come called Internet Addiction, the Emergence of New Clinical Disorder. So in a span of 4 to 5 years, a technology which was initially intended to help people stay connected had become a sort of an addiction. Now, post-pandemic, we say sitting is the new smoking, because all of us have started developing different kinds of biological problems. I started having back pain. I never had that, but almost 16, 14 hours, 17 hours a day is what I'm sitting, and then I had to eventually change I started using a standing table. for my lectures, and I keep shifting. So what my point here is, new addictions are evolving, and one of which had evolved by 1996 and was identified by the researchers and the psychologists was internet addiction in a very short span of 4 years. Now, how has it happened? If telephone had taken about 77 years to reach 100 million people, today Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram had taken less than 1 year to reach 100 million users. So that is probably the pace at which technology is evolving, and people are getting used, or people are getting addicted to all of these online or social media platforms through which we think we are staying connected, but the reality is something else. Now, I won't be spending much time in what fourth industrial revolution is, but then one quick point observation. We are currently in the fourth phase of industrialization. The first one was when steam engine had come. The second in 1870 was when electricity had come. The third was when computers became extremely common in 1969. And today we talk about cyber physical systems. Now, what exactly is cyber physical systems? Only imagination is the limit. There is artificial intelligence. I hope you are aware of robotics. You must go back and watch the videos of Boston Dynamics. Hope you're aware that a robot had got citizenship in Saudi Arabia. Sophia had got citizenship. You have humanoids, virtual reality, self-driving cars, Internet of Things, big data analytics. So my point here is, we can't run away from technology. Technology is invading into our personal and professional lives. So there is no running away from technology, but there is an alternate way of using these technologies. That's what we are propagating. That's what we are suggesting you in this little interaction. How do we use technology? Yeah. Because there was an article which had come, I think in the early 2000s, which says that ours would be the last generation to have experienced what is offline. Everything is likely to become online. Hope you're aware that in Sweden and another city in Australia has made it mandatory that a newborn baby has to have a chip inserted in the body. And this chip would be an alternate to debit card, credit card, Aadhaar card, your ration card, or whatever other cards that we are using. You know, just like it'll be embedded in your body, which means every newborn baby would be half human and half technology by, if we go by the current trend, by 2030, which means there is no running away. We can't shy away from the usage of technology. So we may be the last generation of humans that knows what offline means. So having set a context about what is pandemic and what or how life has changed, and also talking about what is the fourth phase of industrialization, I hope you've understood a broader context, broader premise on which we need to understand what is doom scrolling and how is it connected with the need and the importance of digital detoxification. I'll skip a few slides because my focus is about what digital addiction is. One of the things which all of us must understand is all the digital gadgets that are designed, especially the social media platforms. If you can read the last sentence, it has its own goals and it has its own means of pursuing them by using your psychology against you. Why do people keep scrolling negative news? Or why do negative news keep appearing in the social media platforms? Because that's what people search. That's what people are eager to know more about. And that is what generates revenue for these social media platforms. and they would keep propagating or sharing negativities, a lot of rivalry. And I mean, if time permits, I would play a video. People who worked with these social media platforms, say it be Google, say it be Facebook, Instagram, they've all come out and done a beautiful video by the title Social Dilemma. I would suggest you to go back and watch it. It's just 1 hour of a video. It's there in Netflix. Some of you might have already watched it, but then it alerts how cleverly, I mean, they're very shrewd. All of these social media platforms are really shrewd in developing a model which compels people to keep searching for more, and that too, not good news, but negative news. Just to quote one instance or one example, I'm sure all of you would have watched one or the other YouTube video. Before a video ends, the YouTube would suggest the next video. Why? Because they know your psychology. And by now, if you've opened your YouTube through your account, they know what you've been searching, what kind of videos have you been watching regularly. You know, I listen to a lot of Peter Buka's, his style of playing music, and I keep getting suggestions from YouTube. And that's how these social media platforms are designed. And it is us who has to change our digital practices. Otherwise, we'll get enslaved to these digital platforms. And how do we change it? Pranami ma'am has got a lot of suggestions, a lot of answers, but I'm just setting a context for our discussion. So all of us, I'm just giving a small hint of what ma'am will be discussing. All of us will have to reach a state of alpha state of consciousness. And what is that alpha state of consciousness? It's about mindful digital consumption. You need to be careful of how much time you're spending. You need to be self-aware of how much negative news and views you are consuming. Self-awareness is where we can begin with to reduce our digital consumption, or to reduce the chances of doom scrolling, or reduce digital enslavement. Now, I actually wanted to conduct a small activity here, but then I don't think we have the luxury of spending that much time. But then I think it's better, instead of doing a Mentimeter activity, I'll quickly ask the respondents, what for you are technology addictions? Quickly, if you could share your responses in the chat box, it will be a great help for me to continue the conversation. Can you all please quickly share your responses? What for you is yes? What for you is technology addictions? Fatima Fadwa says it's a psychological mindset. Okay. My mobile is one addiction, is what ma'am says. Mobile is one addiction, is what Vasantika says. But then, is it only mobile? Are there other addictions? I mean, that self-awareness is what we are trying to create through this little conversation. Is it only mobile addiction? When we say digital addiction, shopping, wonderful. Bindu A says shopping, online shopping is actually an addiction. And in fact, there are lots of divorce cases filed because of the shopping habit. So we need to be aware of these kind of addictions, self-aware. Okay, I'll quickly take you through some of the important addictions which all of us should be aware of, because these addictions not just create emotional problems, it also invites a lot of physical problems for us. Yeah, I have started developing something called driver's bottom. It normally happens for drivers, truck drivers, because they have to sit for long hours. And same as what I was also doing the past 18 months, sitting for long and taking classes. Or for me, it was not just taking classes, attending a meeting or preparation for my classes, research, attending workshops, conducting webinars like these, everything I was sitting. And I realized it of late that sitting, as I said earlier, is the new smoking. Sitting is like an addiction. We have to change our sitting postures as well. Similarly, as I said, technology is yet another addiction. And what are those addictions? Quickly, I'll run through some of the aspects which we need to understand. The first one is, there are so many. Technology addiction is also known as internet addiction or internet addiction disorder, IAD. And it was coined by a psychiatrist by the name Ivan Goldberg. I've shown his image earlier. I think he died in 2013. But then, by then, he had created a tremendous amount of literature on internet addiction and its consequences. Even in 2018, it was a big problem, according to Ivan Goldberg. Now, technology means it includes video games, it includes pornography, it includes gambling, excessive testing, social media, online shopping, as someone rightly pointed out, smartphone overuse. There are so many things that we can discuss under technology addiction. And such addiction can range from moderate to severe. And it actually affects not just your mental health, but also our physical health. It affects relationships. It affects our academic performance. It affects our job performance. It affects our whole life itself. Now, I'll take you through some relatable examples. Earlier, when I went to Bangalore in 2010, whenever I used to go for concerts, like attend concerts, music concerts, this was what it was. Earlier in 2012, by 2021, if I'm going for a concert, the digital habits of people have changed. It is not this moment that they are enjoying. They are creating moments for later. They actually record the events for, I'm sure this is what many people do when you attend a wedding or when you attend a birthday party. It is not that moment which gets enjoyed or celebrated, but then you're creating moments for later. Of course, it has its merits, demerits, but then newer digital practices, newer digital routines have brought in a lot of lifestyle diseases, which has its impact or has its influence on a lot of digitally driven, both mental as also physical problems. And that's what we'll try to understand. Now, another question. You know the answer for this question. What do you do when you first wake up? If you go by the global survey, 79% reach for the phone within the 15 minutes of waking up among all the respondents. And among people who are in the age group of 18 to 24, it is 89, which means 90% of the people reach for a phone within the 15 minutes of waking up, which means phone is another addiction. I'm just hinting at certain things or certain aspects which I'm assuming you can easily connect with, so that later discussion, whatever Pranami ma'am would initiate, becomes more relatable. You can easily connect with that. Now, another sort of addiction, television or video game addiction. Maybe your own yourself, or maybe your siblings, your relatives, your friends. People are deeply disconnected with the realities of the world, and they are connected with the digital world, or rather with the virtual world. That's why sociologists say that it is time that we also build our analog qualities, not digital qualities. Of course, all of us are good with that. We've been digitally connected with each other. But how good are you with your analog? Quite relatable, at least for some of you. I've seen some of my friends, even while they use a washroom, they carry a mobile. For them, reading a news or browsing or scrolling through the Instagram pages happens when they go to the washroom. In addition to that, they also watch pornography, cyberbullying. And these are things which are done by people who lack self-respect. This is not what I'm saying. This is what the existing literature is saying. People who lack self-respect, or those who have extremely low self-esteem, are the ones who engage in pornography, who engage in cyberbullying, and to a large extent engage in being overactive in the social media platforms. And they crave for such sadistic pleasures, which actually backfires without our knowledge. We've spoken about online shopping. Invest time and energy in items than in people. Another thing, some people are extremely unhappy if you've uploaded an image or you've shared something in social media, but nobody's liking and commenting. For them, they need an external validation. For them, their internal validation is so poor that they always crave for an external validation. And if that like, share, comment is missing, they feel disappointed. What I'm talking about is existential crisis. And it's something that requires deep pondering. I know one of my colleagues, not taking his name, who keeps changing his phone numbers, who keeps deleting his Facebook account. Every alternate month, I think, I keep getting a new friend request. Mood swings, sporadic panic attack. You're panicked. You don't know what to do because one spur of a moment, you realize that nobody's responding, nobody's validating. So you lose confidence in yourself. You lose confidence or trust in what you are actually capable of. And that's existential crisis. Again, quite relatable for people of your age. Majority, we were just doing a survey and we found that majority of you are in the age group of 18 to 24. And there is a disease which has evolved out of excessive selfie. It's called selfie syndrome. If a person is uploading 3 or 4 selfies in the same day, believe it or not, that person is actually depressed. That person actually needs some sort of an external validation. That person actually needs counseling. This is not what I'm saying, but the existing literature says. Because there is no validation, there is no self-worth that that person has about himself or herself. So it's called the selfie syndrome, obsessive, compulsive desire to take photos of oneself and post them on social media. And those are the people who lack self-esteem, and to fill that gap, what they need is some sort of a dopamine kick. I spoke about dopamine in the initial slides. And that dopamine kick is what they get when someone likes or comments or shares their pictures. And it's also a result of excessive narcissism, self-obsession. And it can be of different levels. There is borderline, there is acute and chronic. If a person is taking at least 3 times, selfies 3 times a day, they're in a borderline. But if it's more than that, maybe around 6 times or even more, it is something to be addressed. It's a sort of an obsession, self-obsession. Love for oneself, to a certain extent, is okay. But these are people, when they get into a relationship, when they get in post-marriage, when you don't get validated by your boyfriends or other friend circles in the opposite gender, it creates a lot of frustration because you get confined to only one person and then you get validated only by that person. So that's self-interest syndrome. Now, this is an image where a person had used Snapchat filter. This is, I mean, on the left side is how that person looks in reality. On the right side is how she looks after using a filter. Believe it or not, people are doing surgeries to look like how their Snapchat photographs are. And it's called Snapchat dysmorphia. People are getting surgeries done to look like their Snapchat selfies. I hope you slowly and gradually understanding the gravity of the problem that we are discussing now. We started off, of course, with internet addiction and doom scrolling. But the problem that we are discussing is common and extremely seen among people around us. Probably in the people that in ourselves. Yeah. No mobile phobia. Assume you've forgotten to take your mobile phone a day. Can you imagine a day without a mobile phone? And that's exactly what no mobile phobia is. The abbreviation of no mobile phobia. That's another problem of all these technology gadgets. Because we are so much dependent on these technology that we can't live even a moment without these. And it has become, just as I've shown in the image, it has become an extended organ in our body, without which you can't survive. That's why people say you can survive without a wife, but not without a Wi-Fi. Because we are so much dependent on the Wi-Fi or on all these digital and online platforms. So that's about nomophobia. No mobile phobia. The fear of being without your cell phone, or probably the fear of losing your signal, or probably your fear of losing your Wi-Fi or internet connection is what nomophobia is. There's another thing which is again extremely common, which is phubbing. Even if you are sitting in a group, your focus or your attention is not in your phone. It is in somebody else's. That's once in digital lifestyle change it has happened. And even if you're sitting together, people don't talk to each other. It's quite rare that these days when you travel in a train, people talk to each other. All of them are glued with their own gadgets. That's what phubbing is. P-H-U-B-B-I-N-G. Fear of missing out. Why do we keep checking our mobile every 5 minutes? Because we fear that we've missed out on something extremely important for us. Did I miss out to wish my friend's birthday? Or did I miss out on an important news which is coming up? Is what compels people to go back and check their mobile phones every 5 minutes, or even sometimes even lesser than that. So the attention span of people have come down post technology invading into our life. We can't blame this generation for their lower attention span, especially as academics, as academicians. That's something I think I have realized over a period. Fear of missing out. Another thing, most of the times people open accounts not to showcase what they've done, but to act as a surveillance camera. People are more interested in other people's life than about their own life. And that's called shoulder surfing or screen voyeurism. It is a practice of observing the personal life of people through spying on their screens. Probably when you're traveling in a public transport offers, or even while browsing through your social media platforms. You spend more time on other people's account. What is it that, which dress has that person or your friend worn in a marriage, in her wedding, or which is the destination photo shoot, which I have to do it better, right? Those are the kind of mental notes which which I've seen people of this generation have started taking. So shoulder surfing, screen voyeurism. Another thing is tablet zombies. You might have come across such people. When everyone is walking in a street or in a busy street, you might see one person who's glued to his gadget and is standing right in the middle of the road. Sometimes, could lead to catastrophic, to consequences which are, so those people are known as tablet zombies, people with devices in their hands, frozen in a space, as if they had been going somewhere, but were taken aback by the need to respond to an email or to check an update. They stand in the middle of a road where everyone else is busy walking around. Micro boredom. I spoke about, or rather I asked a question, what is it that you do in your free time? When you're waiting for your flight, when you're waiting in a railway station, when you're standing in a queue, when you're standing in a supermarket for billing, what is it that you do? If you don't have anything to do digitally, that leads to a new boredom. This is what the science and literature says, and that's called micro boredom. A brief spell during the day when one grows weary, and it appears at the bus stop. You are standing in a bus stop and you've forgotten to take your gadget, or your gadget isn't working, and it leads to a new boredom, which is micro boredom. There are enough and more that we can keep discussing about, but then I think I should respect the time allotted to me and also for Pranami ma'am. So I'll just take another 5 minutes to wind up the conversation, and then I'll hand it over to Pranami, Dr. Pranami Sharma ma'am. So what are the technology addiction symptoms? I'll spend some time on that, and then ma'am will continue. Now, compulsive checking of text messages. Now, there's something called phantom vibration. You think that your phone is vibrating, but actually it isn't. But you keep going back and keep checking the text messages. Compulsive checking. If you have such a symptom, you are addicted to technology. If you're frequently changing your Facebook's or social media status, or is uploading selfies, you are addicted. You feel euphoric when you're online, but you feel otherwise when you're offline. You're not excited when you're offline. You are excited only when you're online. Then you're addicted. You don't prefer to go to places where people gather. You start neglecting your own family, your friends, your relatives, and prefer to stay only online. If that's something which has happened with you, I think that's another symptom. You've lost interest in any activity that doesn't involve computer or phone or other electronic gadgets. Then again, that's another symptom. This is not what I'm saying. This is done by Hilary Cash. He's done incredible research in this topic. And you feel restless when unable to go online, probably because your network is not proper, or probably because your gadget isn't working, there's no currency, for multiple reasons. If you're feeling restless, you are addicted to. What if you feel anxious, you feel ashamed after you spend a lot of time online? If you regret the time that you're spending online, that is yet another hint, that is yet another symptom that you are addicted to technology. If your sleeping pattern has changed, or if you wake up regularly during, if you don't get continuous sleep for about 6 hours or 5 hours, that's again another symptom, or we call it insomnia, lack of sleep or change in sleeping pattern. That's yet another hint. And if you're hiding your internet usage, it is also extremely common among people of your age group. Dishonesty, though you might have spent a lot of time online, you don't tell that to your parents or your friends. I was just doing some other work. If that's a casual remark, if you're making, if you're lying about the time that you're spending online, that is yet another hint or a symptom that you are addicted to technology. It's time, it's an alert, it's a red signal. There are quite a lot of which I can keep discussing, but then, as I said, I need to respect the time. There is yet another study done by Kimberly, the one who had come up with this theory of internet addiction. And she has also identified a couple of points, and she says if there are 5 points out of this, or 5 symptoms, if that matches with your digital gadget usage, you are addicted. Pretty much similar to what we had discussed earlier. Anxiety, staying longer than what you initially intended, you feel restless, if you're depressed, or when you feel the need to use internet for quite a lot of time, all of that is a hint that you are addicted to technology. So I'll just, as I said, maybe in another 2 minutes, I need to wind up. There are not just physical problems, but also mental problems. I think I've spoken enough about mental problems, but then physical problems, weight gain, carpal tunnel syndrome. What is carpal tunnel? This part of your hand. I have 3 of my colleagues last vacation when I met them in campus. All of them were wearing, a kind of a gadget because of their excessive usage of their, mouse. That's carpal tunnel syndrome. Headache, neck and back aches, dry or red eyes. All of these are again symptoms of physical problems. What about mental health problems? Anxiety, restlessness, obsessive compulsive disorder, narcissism or self-love, lower self-esteem. There are so many things that we can keep on discussing, bringing in examples, but then I need to wind up talking about, or rather summarizing, what are the addiction, and as a word of caution. 1, I think I've spoken about fear of missing out and anxiety. 2nd, nomophobia, no mobile phobia. 3rd is BlackBerry thumb. BlackBerry thumb is when, because of excessive texting, the tissues of your thumb gets damaged. That's BlackBerry thumb. Then comes social media depression. Nobody's validating or if you're not in a position to go to social media, all of that can lead to depression. 3D hangovers. Always you are in front of a screen, but then you can't actually accept the realities of life, because for you, the world is 3D, always. But the life is different, right? Smartphone stress, loneliness, feeling ostracized, isolated, loneliness. Nobody's there to validate, you. Phantom vibrations, I spoke about that. You keep thinking that your mobile phone is ringing or it's vibrating, and you keep checking it. I think that's phantom vibration. Decreased sperm count. It affects your next generation too. Lesser possibility of having children. If in case you're using your gadget, especially if you have the habit of putting your mobile phones in your pant pocket, or probably in girls, I mean, some of you, I don't know where you keep your mobile, but then if you have it close to your, so, I mean, it affects your sperm count. Laptop burns. Cyberchondria, Google syndrome. What does that mean? You validate a thing only if it is there in the internet. Google syndrome. You won't believe unless it is there in Google. procrastination. You keep delaying things. Decreased attention span, I spoke about that. Radiation, hearing loss, accidents. Some people keep using their mobile even while they are driving, not just while they are dining, also while they are driving. So there are lots of things which are cross-connected, interrelated, and we need to understand all of that in detail. And that's the reason why I thought I'll spend a little time to set the context to understand what are the solutions, or what are the way out to come out of these, world which is actually designed differently. Let me just take you through one or two more slides before I wind up this conversation. And the point here is, I think I can use this slide. This is an image which was taken by a very popular photojournalist, for which he won the Pulitzer Prize. He took this image during a famine in 1993 at Sudan, and he was only 33, as I said earlier. And I'll tell you the context of this. You can see the image of a little kid crawling, and backside of it is the image of a vulture. This kid is crawling towards a food camp where he's just struggling to reach a food camp so that he can have food. And what is the vulture waiting? The vulture is waiting for this kid to die so that it can have food. Beautiful context, rather shocking context. So Kevin Carter took this photograph to show the world this is how the famine of Sudan is. He posted this image online. He was recognized for it. But then comes a lot of question. Instead of taking this picture, he should have actually saved this little kid, is what majority of them criticized him for. Out of depression, he committed suicide at a very young age of 33. The context, what he wanted to set, and the digital platforms through which he shared and for which he gained popularity, actually backfired. And he just couldn't take the regret. He just couldn't handle the online bullying and so many other things which happened. And then he eventually committed suicide. So the point here is, I just wanted to emphasize on is, it is not about usage. What we are propagating or what we are suggesting is about conscious usage of internet and digital devices. And there are methods of detoxifying your usage or your digital habits. And that's what Pranami ma'am would be discussing. Sorry for exceeding the time. The rest of the time is more about digital detoxification. How can this digital detoxification be done? What are the methods? What are the solutions? What are the suggestions we have? I pause there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll be presenting my slide. So, is the slide visible? Again, I'm asking the same question.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir, especially for introducing it in such a manner that we get not only what doom scrolling is, but how this scrolling affects, and it's not about just one point, but the entire digital connection, which gives us the trust for doom scrolling and where we actually lands. So before I begin with a very because these things that we are discussing is very important, very relevant, and very much part of our life. And not only us, it's not only about that individual. As sir has spoken, it's about the entire family, it's about the society, it has by and large gone to the entire globe. So to go ahead with that, I want to start with something which is a global joke. It's like we have heard this. If you know who if you are getting birthday wishes, if somebody is always there with you, if somebody knows your mood, it's not your spouse or partner, but it's the digital world. In other words, maybe it can be Facebook, maybe it can be Instagram, and all other platforms that you're active in. So being humans, I think that is something our part to do. What was it that what we used to do? It's like remembering birthdays. It was always something, a way of knowing someone, like that you give importance. You remember that person's birthday, but nowadays that trend has gone. Now who remembers the birthday? It's the AIs that remember the birthdays, right? Who is reminding you about all these things before the birthday comes? You will get a list, like there are 3 days to go, 1 week to go, this month they are having. It was our duty, but then the AI has taken it and we have forgotten. Likewise, we have forgotten one of the most important part is to know what to do and not what to do. Okay, to know that the AIs can read our minds. How they can read our mind? Because they have seen a constant graph of our behavior. So if I'm searching for one person, every time they will give a notification for it. Now it was my duty to think what I want to watch, what I don't want to watch, what I want to do. But now it is the other end, technology is telling me what should I do. And that's what I also get feed into that. This is where I feel this mindfulness, that the word that you are seeing out there, is the biggest key if you are going towards doom scrolling, because by now you know what is doom scrolling, what are the other things that can affect your doom scrolling. So what I feel is that now you need to be taking charge of your life. Now it is no more the AI, it should be you. Because at the very beginning, I am not here to tell you that you should not use, you should stop it totally, because that's not possible. That's not possible for me, that's not possible for anyone now. If we want to work, if we want to earn, if we are doing a social being, we need a digital presence. Without digital presence, we cannot survive. That's the fact, that's the reality. But then, of course, we must know where to use it, how to use it, and then all the questions should be answered by us and not the other one. So before I go with that, I have a few questions, okay? Of course, the questionnaire is being done, and I'm thankful to all the participants, those who did it. And I have the general analysis of it towards the end. We will be sharing that too. So the questions I'm asking are, so if you are interested, you can definitely use your chat box. If you are not, at least you answer to yourself the questions I'm asking from now on. Because if the answers are yes, maybe you need to take a note of it in a very practical manner, okay? And this is, as said, age group does not matter, gender does not matter, your marital status does not matter. What matters is your conscious thought that how you would go ahead. And this is like, any stage of life you are in, you need to take a charge for it. And so the first question, the first thing that we do in the morning is we get up, right? So maybe you can use the chat box. I'll be very happy if you're using it. And you can also register for your own self. What do I do when I get up in the morning? Is it that I'm happy, I'm smiling, and I'm thinking, oh, this is a new day. Today I have to plan it in a manner, or I have to implement all my plans I've done, or you look outside and see how's the weather today. Is it cloudy? Is it raining? Is it shining? The sun is shining, or is it you just thank God that today I survived, all my loved ones survived? Is those happy things that brings your morning, or is it that you feel I don't want to get up from the bed? Why the alarm is ringing? What is the time? Can I sleep for another 5 minutes? Can I get another half an hour? And are you the morning, but you are lethargic to get out of your bed? If this is your situation, if situation A, very good, you need to just keep yourself motivated to always be with that part of A. But if not, if it is B, then maybe one thing you need to think is how I have gone to bed. Is it at night I was very happy doing majorly I will start with this doom scrolling part only, because what happens at night, especially if you're surfing, is anything you're surfing, as sir was saying, up next, that next comes, and we feel the entire night is there. Anyway, we are not sleepy. Once I am sleepy, I will sleep. So we go on, and we don't realize how long we have been there. And this has become a constant part. This has now become a habit, especially with the pandemic. And then now it is like, you don't get sleep at night. Is it something that you often tell yourself or any of your family members or anyone from where you have heard that, this COVID time has disturbed your sleep? Or suppose, you are not as a comfortable sleeper, like, you go to bed within 15 minutes or half an hour, you don't fall asleep. It takes 4 or 5 hours for you. And on behalf of that, what you do is you open up your cell phone and you start scrolling. If you do so, there's a very medical condition for that. There is something known as blue light. So what it does is that as soon as your eyes are getting, that flash of light, firstly, your eyes is getting affected. Secondly, it's your brain getting affected. Thirdly, the sleep hormone gets affected. So the brain is saying basically, don't release this hormone because it's yet not time to bed. Though you are on the bed, though it's night, though it's the usual time for you to sleep, though sometimes you may realize morning I have to get up, I have work, I cannot fulfill my 6 hours of sleep. Still you are not sleepy. Still your brain is not sleepy. There's no sign of sleep. Why so? Because of such screen time that you have consumed, that brain is not ready yet to release the hormones that are required to go for you to sleep. And it always takes a little bit of time. So what the experts advise here is, before your bedtime, at least for 2 hours before, if you can practice 2 hours before, it is great. If not, maybe you can start with 1 hour, where you will not go and see your cell phone. You will not start with your television or anything that has a screen, okay? Because that screen reflection does not let your sleep hormones come in. So start practicing it. If suppose you are facing this, start practicing from today. If you go to bed at 10, after 9, at least try not to use any kind of gadgets or anything as a screen. Rather you go up, talk with people, you just sit and relax. You can do any other thing that you feel like, or sometimes you can just relax to have a leisure time. Go outside, wait on the balcony, see how the weather is, feel the wind. Those things will definitely help you to get out of this. So if this is fine, another thing that is very much related with our sleep is, we often, it's like, since the cell phone has become handy, we have forgotten something which used to wake up, at least from my generation, at least your teachers would know, something that is the alarm clock. We have totally forgotten the alarm clock, which is again a lifestyle change we need to bring. It is for everyone. If you see a kid also, if suppose the parents are doing for the kid, even then you should step it up and say, because this is for the society, where you need to say that to wake up, you need an alarm clock and not the cell phone. Why not the cell phone? Because the experts believe If the cell phone is nearby, it is radiating and of course hampering your sleep. Okay, sleep pattern, sleep and everything, firstly. Secondly, what it does is that it will start, it's there. Of course, you are not getting sleep because of all the disturbance you already created in your life. What will happen? Human tendency, you will hold your cell phone again and start scrolling. And that's what the power of doom scrolling too. Maybe suppose at 5 o'clock you have left somewhere, maybe you want an addition. For example, I'll just give one example. So at this point of time, the news of a celebrity, Shilpa Shetty and her husband, it's something on air everywhere you will get. And it's like every person wants to know what is the next, what has happened. Is Shilpa Shetty is also arrested now? What the crime branch is doing? What not? The same thing happened a year ago when Sushant Singh Rajput committed suicide. It was so much on the net, and everything is related with doom scrolling. If nothing concrete came out, but every person was trying to feed in something, viewing something, which is somehow so disturbing. Somebody will post a picture of a dog, and that is also people are trying to know it. But we need to have that mindfulness. Is it necessary? Is it something to be done? And these things, what the research says is, if you are searching, suppose daytime you have searched half of the news which is negative, that negative news does not leave you. It is somewhere stick on your brain, and while going to bed, if you are not feeling sleepy, you will again start searching what is the update. And then at night before sleeping, you need to know the update. Again in the morning when you get up, because that was the last thing you did at the night, your brain will again start telling you, what is the next thing? What if something happened within this 5 hours, 6 hours, and you want to know. So this is where one of the most important part is to do away with this. Okay, what you did on the day, it should remain there and not to carry on with you. But you need to have a alarm clock so that you don't get that excuse that I need my cell phone nearby me when I'm going to bed. Okay, this is the biggest excuse everyone gives, but we all can afford an alarm clock if we can afford one, cell phone. So this is very important. You must make a note. If you have, siblings, if you have niece, nephews, or if anyone has kids, it's very important that you practice this from the very day itself. Then this is like, this is a very common question being asked, and there is no gray area for it. This is yes or no area. So should you use your phone as an alarm clock? It is a sure no. Stop using it from the day one itself that you are getting. Maybe you can try from tonight or maybe from tomorrow, but buy one alarm clock as soon as you're aware of this. Maybe we should gift also, people, those we know but they won't buy. Maybe we should give this rather than gifting chocolates or any other things. So when do I use my phone? This is a very important question. You must ask yourself to be mindful. If it is doom scrolling, even if it is not doom scrolling, this question remains the same. A research says that while eating, it has now become a mandate around the globe that you will go on with doom scrolling, or you will start something over on your phone. Now this issue, what it does is that just like the sleep pattern, even your food pattern, eating habit has a pattern, firstly. Secondly, it is related with time bound thing. Thirdly, again, if your brain is divided into two parts, like you may sometimes try, doing two different things with your hand or two different gestures with your hand and leg. They won't coordinate, they won't synchronize. It's very rare of the rarest people for whom the brain can work like that. Usually 99% it will not. So this means what? Brain is not designed to do perfectly multiple functioning. Okay, some or the other thing will get imbalanced. Now what you are doing here is, once you are eating or taking something, where your brain is ready to release again certain kind of acids. We know how we digest, right? So certain acids are required to be released, and these are again functioned by brain. At the same time, if you are scrolling down with your cell phone, the brain is again confused which activity to do. asking to do both the activities, of course, brain won't be able to do it in a proper manner. What happens in the light, because scrolling down and taking notes of it becomes easier, your brain tends to reduce lesser number of acids required for you to digest. Ultimately, what happens? You may have gastric issues, you may have, indigestion, you may have all the issues that comes with the respiratory tract. Some of the other issues may come. This is what has become again a very important part of everyone's life. So I need to know consciously, while I'm sleeping I should not use, while I'm eating I should not use. As sir has shown the picture of washroom, going to bathroom, washroom, when you are using, those are the tasks where you need to concentrate. You cannot multiple function with your cell phone thinking, I'm not doing anything, I'm just looking over on the phone. That is not done, because your phone means your brain and all other things need to be constantly working. It is not just your phone. Okay, so very important question. You should not use the phone all the time. There should be a specific time. There should be a need. Very importantly, there should be a need to use your cell phone. If that need is designed, so this is where we are very much not focusing on, is one area that we think it is compulsory. We think it is compulsory to respond to a text to our friend within seconds, otherwise the friend will feel bad. But do you actually need such kind of friends? Firstly, that's a question mark. You must understand that is not healthy, even for you, even for your friend. Because what happens at the other end, your friend is getting impulsive. Okay, if there is not getting a response within seconds, depression comes, and you are also constantly checking a cell phone because of that. So whatever it is, you must not be a slave of your gadget. That is the simplest thing. You must have time. You must have a specific time zone, and it should not be compulsion. It should not be. It should be a compulsion. It should not be intentional. Okay, so it's like whenever you want to use, you should use phone. That is what should be the normal thing. It should not be because somebody will text you, so your brain is forcing you, some other pop-up or notification have come. Those are the secondary things. Okay, but you must, suppose if you're working, then you know that your email is very important. All the official communications will be done via email. Maybe you can keep the notification for emails, but nobody will pop up over on Instagram for you, on Facebook for you, on Snapchat for you. You can switch off all those. Those are not compulsory for you. And so it is not needed to have a immediate response for it. So this is where it's a new emotion. We had seen emotions like anger, crying, hatred, all those. Now we need to understand one more emotion, because digital is the connection. That off can be a new emotion. We should be able to say, I had switched off my cell phone. Saturday evening, what is the need of a cell phone? Saturday evening, there is no business, there is no official task. Everyone knows it is Saturday evening. Whole world will of course know, even if they are trying to connect you. You can just say, don't call me on Saturday evening, or you may do what is that, you may keep your calls on, and you can switch off your Wi-Fi or mobile data. That is not required, right? We must practice these, because otherwise our generation is going to fall into a huge problem. Like sir has said, the two industries which use the word users and not customers, consumers, or any other word, clients, it's one is the drug industry and another is the software industry. So we are users for them. Okay, and definitely we can off whenever we want. So there should be a space, and that space should be yours without a digital connection, and that should be very clearly known to all others, so that slowly, gradually they may practice, or if they don't even, they will not let you drag to that. So which will eventually definitely reduce your doom scrolling too. So this is where social media, I was talking about the unplug. You must understand, there are few songs which are unplugged and very good, right? We like to listen to them. Similarly, unplugging from social media is equally good. Trust me, your childhoods must be unplugged, but they do have memories. They do have, great concentration. So we must try this again. No, and it's not bad. Because we need to know how to balance. So this is where unplugging becomes very important. This is where with this, doom scrolling, especially with the COVID coming in, we all got so much into the digital space. Everything has become digital and accessible. And what we did is the news, okay? The news and the views which really disturbed everyone. There's a survey that says, the literature says, that people who died of COVID being positive, it is also an equal amount of death rate. It's a very greater reason for the death rate, especially with the first wave, was the fear of death. It's not actually the disease, but it is the news that you cannot fight this disease, the news that your mental strength became so low that once you start having a problem or having COVID, you thought, I'm almost there, and you give up. People gave up in real, and that's what the news did. That is why epidemic, we were fighting pandemic, at the same time we were fighting the negative news, which all of us did, around the globe. This was like the most searched ever. So this is where, with the deaths, along with deaths, there, I think all the names I have written here, it is so relatable to all of you that all of you can still remember the context of these people. Kanika Kapoor, everyone in India started searching what has happened to her, why she is not following COVID rules. We started getting to know what she is eating, what she is not eating, what she is wearing. But was that anywhere needed? We just disturbed our own life by reading all that. Amitabh Bachchan, big family, got COVID. COVID is the same thing. COVID would not know Amitabh Bachchan or some AB, but then we started following so much. Riya Chakrabarti, everyone has turned up to be like a murderer. But then no one has given the scope for the agencies to do the work. More on agencies, people are there who are on this, the digital platform. Kangana Ranaut. So there are so many to talk about. These are only a few names. I just thought, your age group people would definitely be related in India. So this is where we need to know that what doom scrolling did to us. We still remember those negative news, and we still attach to that negativity. If I ask for a discussion on Riya Chakrabarti or Kangana Ranaut, I guess all of us will keep on saying. So this is what we will spread negativity, and what it does is that our brains will not get any positive vibe. We will get the negative vibe. Anything goes wrong with them? No, it goes wrong with us. So this is where how to do one other very most important part today is you need to schedule a time to consume news, because news is important. Not everything is related with them. There are real news also. There is how the stock market functions. We need to know what has happened today with the gold price, what has happened with the economic forum, what has happened. We must know all these things. We are living in a society. So what is the best way to do is pick a time for yourself to consume news. Night 8 to 9 p.m. I will watch news whole day. What has happened, I'll get to know. Fine. You are not writing any exam before going to bed that you have to mug up and write up and everything, right? So you just need to know what has actually happened. What is the news in real? Kanishka Kapoor was not a news. Amitabh Bachchan getting COVID was not a news. Shilpa Sethi having all these are not a news that can actually build up or do something good for you. So this is where it is something you need to have a pickup time. 1 hour I'll be watching, 1 hour good and the real news I will be watching. Okay. Next is, you can see over in the picture, hands are poking up. So those are the notifications. You want or you don't want. If you switch it on, they will keep on coming. But those are not needed. And not every news is a breaking news again. The way of showing breaking news has totally become different in our context in today's world. but then every day there cannot be breaking news. Breaking news has a different parameter. So this is where you must stop the notifications, especially notifications coming from Facebook news, notifications coming from Twitter, notifications coming from Instagram. Absolutely not required. If you want to follow news, you can take good apps, okay? Like you can have Al Jazeera, you can have BBC, all these good apps you can download, and you can switch on the notification. And if not, you can schedule a time to read the news, rather than getting news from Facebook. That has become a very recent and new trend. People gets to know what is going around from Facebook. I find it so weird. That should not be the parameter even. Then radio news, what is the best thing about radio news? It comes with a specific timing. It doesn't go on and on. If you're not subscribing to that 24/7 news, it does not go on and on, firstly. Secondly, because it is on audio, you will not have the visuals, especially troublesome visuals you will not see, which is a good thing for you. And thirdly, you will also get to know what is happening all around. Fourthly, as it is a very specific time period, you will not think about news beyond that time, and there is no scope for doom scrolling. So that is one of the best things. Suppose if you had the habit of this, in the name of news you do doom scrolling, you may shift to radio news, where there is no possibility of doom scrolling. And if you feel like, then you must do the mindfulness of stopping yourself. There's something which is like a new thing that has come up in the world, that is clickbait. Okay, so what it does is that the title will be something else, then the news will follow in a flow in a different manner, and to see what was in the title, you will go on and on and on. Like, for example, suppose the title comes up, we had that news, like one singer just got married and then she was expecting. So that was on the news. And then the news was related with so many things. For 2-3 days, there were so many things. And then finally, the bottom line of the news is that she is expecting in her next song video. It is not that she's expecting out of a real marriage. Okay. So this is what, the clickbait basically does, is that you will have a whole structure of news, but what was there on the title is not something which is related with the context, and at the end it will have a different context itself. So what happens? Your excitements get dried, you started having anger after reading that, and then you fall into depression, which takes approximately 3 seconds to reach to that. Just imagine your brain functions in such a manner. 3 seconds, and you, from an excitement stage, you reach the depression stage. So this is where we have to have a very mindful thought while consuming news. News is important. We need to know what is happening, what is not happening, what is real, what is not real. And we must be able to distinguish between news that will give us feed for doom scrolling and news that will not give us feed for such things. So this is very important for us. Then nextly, we find people flying somewhere. They will paste on post on this Facebook or some other social media. There's an earthquake, people go on. There is something, you are eating before now it has become a mandate. If you're not taking a picture, people think that you have not eaten only, because they will be like, you have not taken a picture, you have gone to somewhere and you have not taken a picture. So it is for yourself, it is not for the whole world, and they're not interested. And again, don't make it a news. So these kind of doom scrolling, who has gone where, who has eaten what, who has worn what, we have to really come out of this. We don't require to register such information. It is just the AI is doing it. World was also working before this much better. It was functioning, isn't it? It was not that if I don't know what Kareena Kapoor's son has eaten or gone or wore, I could still function my life. It is again a conscious move that I make, because it pops up, it comes up. Then I have to, just go ahead of it, because it's not important. Similarly, you also have to try this. It has 2 ways. Neither to read for the ones who are posting, nor to do the same thing. Okay, it is not at all required. Your loved ones anyway know where you have gone, what you do. If you're sharing, share one album, that's different. But you don't have to give point wise, 9:15 I did this, 9:30 I did this, 10 o'clock I did this. That's absolutely not required to read and even to do. Then I understand, especially this slide is for your generation, because I have gone through the survey and seen that 90% is students, right? So, failing to do all those things that I was speaking about may be a difficult task, but then failing is not the ultimate thing. It's like first attempt in learning, right? So you should not be, suppose tonight again you started room scrolling, you should not be ashamed of it, but you can just have a conscious thought that tomorrow I won't do. Tomorrow, even if you did, you just try to reduce half an hour, 15 minutes at least. If by 1 o'clock every night you do, try to make it 12:30 one day. Try to make it 5 minutes again early. Slowly, the pattern will develop. As this pattern has not developed over a day, again, removing yourself from the pattern would not develop on a day. So please understand, failing is not a big deal. It is just the first attempt. So you can go on and on until you succeed. That should be the motto for you. How to do this is finding hobbies. That's the best way. That's the best way of not doing doom scrolling or not doing doing digital detoxification. Now these are the common ways. You are gardening, you are putting on music, you are stitching something, you are painting, cooking, photography. Suppose any one of you are already done with these and not able to find happiness in this, there is this I have shared the link of this website gives you unusual hobbies. Okay, so those hobbies that are not from the picture that you see are not the usual ones. There are different things that can interest people. So those unusual hobbies, you can pick up any of it, at least try if you are bored of the usual hobbies, so that you can have that distance from the digital consumption in any manner, positive, negative, or in any manner, especially negative, so that you can have the distance. And these hobbies will keep you, because if I'm started painting, I'll not go and look and check on my cell phone all the time. So this is where you need to find one hobby for you. It shouldn't be like just like that. I doubt you can reach. Another very important part, especially with your generation, talking in person. One of the picture, you can say what happened on chat. Both of them were endlessly chatting, texting. In person, they don't have a word to share. They don't know how to give the expressions. They don't know how to give the emotions of there. So this is not good for our generation, not good for the coming generation. Today's world, a literature says most of the kids, okay, who are less than 5 years and born after 2013, 14, after that, they face one disorder, that is the speaking disorder. The kids, they don't know how to do it. I don't know if you have ever come up. The parents will be worried by the age of 4 and 5 that they don't know how to speak. They are not responding. They know everything. Everything is fine. Even the physical body is fine, but they are not speaking up. One major reason is too much of attachment with the digital platforms. Since childhood, you see a child is being fed, having a cell phone nearby with some videos of or poems or something, or the cartoons over on TV. Nowadays, many parents, they complain that the TV at our place is only the cartoon comes up. But do you think that is something to be proud of? The onus is on us. We need to educate them that they may have given the birth, but that is not the way to do, because it disturbs the entire generation and the coming generation. So this is where we have to consciously practice. You see a kid, you start speaking, because that kid needs to know. If you are uncomfortable, first you have to remove the barriers. Go and sit, have lunch, dinner, or any other thing with the family. So no gadgets are around and people sit and talk. You need to have a time specified, especially with the pandemic at home. You can have a time specified to discuss and sit, leaving your gadgets behind. So this is not just for you, not just for me, but it is related to entire society. We must practice this so mindfully that people, they start doing it seeing us. And this is a conscious distance you are making. How you will make is that one very important reason is that you can do is a designated phone area. Suppose as you know, every zone of the society, people are so much now into this, right? Cell phone. So my parents also developed that habit of cell phone. So it's like, both of them, they've realized 40 years of being married, but suddenly they've realized that they don't talk to each other much now, or they used to, because of the cell phones coming up, and the older age people are very much attached to Facebook and YouTube. These are the two platforms they are very much attached to. And then what they decided is that inside their room, the master bedroom, there is no cell phone allowed. So unless and until that becomes an emergency, my parents' master bedroom, there's no cell phone allowed. Not for us, not for them. So this is something we all can practice. Okay, this is the time for us to practice. We can have an area, maybe your living area, maybe your dining area of the house, or maybe your bedroom, wherever people can gather and discuss. You can actually put this board. This has become so needed for us to have a constant information that, this is the area where you cannot, like in the organizations we have, so that we can maintain a distance. This is very important, where we need to wake up early. If we want to change these habits, we must wake up early. Why? Because waking up early, the first few hours of the day, nobody would disturb you with a cell phone, with a message or anything. And even if somebody is, you are not bound to respond, because official times starts from 9. So after 9, of course, there's a compulsion to respond. Your teacher texts you, you need to respond. Teacher mails you, you need to respond. You need to attend your classes. But if you wake up at 5, 5:30, 6, okay, at least 6 to 9 or 5 to 9, you are getting ample amount of time for yourself and to begin your day. And at that point of time, you don't need to go and check. Even if you switch your cell phone at night, 1 p.m., you can switch it on by 8 at least, not before 8. So this is where, you have to have that habit of waking up so that you get extra time for your life without gadgets, which is equally beautiful. And what you will do in that extra time, you must be physically active. Otherwise, your brain will say, let's go and see what is there in the news. Let's go on DOOMSCROLLIng. Let's go on, connecting to your cell phone. So this is where a physical activity is much needed. It can be both outdoors, it can be indoors. Because of COVID, we are saying indoors. Anything you do, that is better than not doing, sleeping, and going attached to your cell phone. So, and remove the habit of snoozing. So as I've said that we should have alarm clock, the habit of snoozing will automatically decrease. So there are certain tips, another small tips that you can begin from the very beginning now. The first is, you should turn off the targeted ads from Facebook and Instagram. So wherever you can right away do it while this session is going on. I know it is difficult, but once you practice, it will become a habit, and later you would not feel like even turning on those ads. Then push notifications of any kind of news sources. If it is you are in Twitter, you can definitely push notifications, because Twitter is a news element where everyone tweets, and at a time you would get so many notifications. 90% of them is not related, not needed your constant attention. So you must push off those notifications if you want to avoid doom scrolling. Then you must hide or mute people who use social media to have that anger burst. So I'm sure you will have some people who would not see anything good. For example, India, started having gold medal. The first, the girl came from Northeast. People started having, you need a medal to be recognized from Northeast and this and that. Was it necessary? There was a happy moment. That happiness is being now changed into another negativity. Those things are actually not needed. Yes, that is a reality, but that's on a different context. We don't need to mix all the pleasures with pain. So this is where you need to hide or mute people who use such kind of anger burst or something always negative with your social media. Then you must block certain words. In Twitter, certain words you can definitely block, because those words will constantly keep on coming, and those words will push notifications, and then it will cling, then you will go, you will search, and you would not know how much amount of time you have spent. That is so unnecessary. Then you can suppose your old identity. It may happen that the anger bursting person is you. Suppose your old identity was not so good, and now you have realized that your social account identity is something that we are saying that we should not do. Go and delete it. Have a new account, new with a positive thing, new with a new face, new with a new smile. So you, every day is a new day. Any day you can start with your new identity. Remove your old identity if it is not so good. Rely on your emails instead of social media. Anything that your friends should not be saying on Facebook, that tomorrow we have to submit the assignment, or ma'am has sent the assignment. Mails are much better than having that. This is very much needed. If you have people who you don't like, unfollow them. Unfollow the people or the account or the content, and don't go on looking for this. They may feel bad, that's fine, but would you impact your own health because they will not feel bad? So it is like, your health is being in question, so you must try it. It is not someone else. And these are not only physically, mentally, both way it is impacting you, so you must be conscious about it. Then so saying that with the tips, I almost end up with the doom scrolling. Now what I'll quickly go through is, because of the time constraint, I'll quickly go through with the survey we did, and I really find it to say it was really, I thought you will have on a different line, but still there are so many participants or respondents were still on a much better manner. So these are the points, the levels, okay, where if you are having 0 to 30, it's a normal one. 31 to 49, it's mild. 50 to 59, it's moderate. Above 80, there's a severe dependency, which individual numbers also we didn't get above 80, and at the same time the average scores also does not show anyone above 80 to 100. So the survey conducted, the results are basically 24 participants, okay. They're in such a good position, having an average score of 21, so that's the normal one. So the mild level, 18 counts, 18 participants, and average is 39, which little bit more if they do, they will be on the other side. So it is better for the mild ones to try to go to normal. And the moderate level is like 15, where the average score is 57. So 57, if you are crossing, you will be on the severe dependency, which again becomes an issue. So maybe these are the results of your analysis. You must be little conscious if you are in that count of mild and moderate. Then a few questions that I have just taken to show that how often do you find that you stay online longer than you intend. This wheel shows us how it is rotating, and that 0, which is like not applicable, is 1.1%, and rest it is applicable. And you can see how it is improving, going up from 8.5 to 22 to 23, 28. So it is huge number. I actually finds that they intend longer than they thought they would be. This is how often do you block out disturbing thoughts of your life smoothing for the internet. This wheels, again, the 4% is the lowest, but then 4% has a very higher impact here. And again, you can see the wheel. How often do you fear that life without the internet would be boring, empty, and joyless? This is what we were talking about. This is like a phobia. This is a disease. Okay, we must understand that we cannot get connected to disease. These are like it is really very bad, but it's like cancer only. It gets into you, and bringing out it becomes difficult. And at least for cancer, we have a therapy. Here we only have to go to rehab centers if we are so addicted. We don't want to reach to that stage, right? So this is where you can see again the wheel, where so a greater percentage feels that 23.7, which is like the greater percentage, and don't. But then others, you can climb up all the others, they feel that they are part of it, which is again not a good sign. And how often do you lose sleep due to being online? Again, this picture itself speak about how such a greater percentage they are actually disturbing their sleep because of doom scrolling, because of digital connections. So with this, I again hand over to sir. Because of time constraint, I think yes. So because of time constraint, I think I will not go on with the other questions because it's already 4:5. I'll quickly ask her to wrap up.
All right. Thank you, Pranami ma'am, for that wonderful set of insights that probably both of us have been giving quite a lot. We were bombarding with a lot of information. But then what I would suggest is a hand-in-hand approach while we get advices. I hope you know what a hand-in-hand approach is. When you go to a beach, you can't take the entire sand in hand. Whatever you can carry in your hand is what you can hold. But that applies true with the advices or probably the suggestions or the tips or whatever we have discussed so far. That applies to that too. So whatever you think is relevant, let that be the takeaway. But then let me just kind of conclude our discussion from where I started. I spoke about what chemicals gets released in our body. It's not just 3 or 4. There are so many other. You can go back and read and understand the actual science behind or probably the reasons of finding happiness or what leads to actual happiness. Yeah, being digital is actually not what happiness is all about, because there are enough and more literatures which says that people with absolutely no self-respect and self-esteem are the ones who are super active in these digital platforms. And as I said, and probably Pranami ma'am was also discussing, most of these digital platforms are designed to increase our stay, or designed to increase or keep scrolling from one text to another, one video to another, one comment to another. So let's not fall a trap and lose our precious time, because we become what we behold, and we shape our tools, and then our our tools shape us. So I hope you're getting the point. What tools are we using is actually what shapes us. I mean, the way we are using these tools or these gadgets or these platforms is actually what shapes us. So that's again another word of caution. A couple of books before we conclude. One is Digital Minimalism. It's a brilliantly written book by Carl Newport, which talks about lots of theories of how we can be conscious of the time that we spend online, make it productive, make it more meaningful, make it more engaging, make it more resourceful. It's a brilliantly written book about the topic that we have discussed so far. And there is another book called Deep Work, how we can stay focused without distraction. That's another by the same author. Then there is another book by Damon, Digital Detox. The title itself is Digital Detox, or not that much recommended, but still. Off is also another book, but I would suggest you to read and understand Digital Detox better. Another very interesting, beautifully written book is by Catherine Price, How to Break Up. Just as we break up in relationships, how to break up with your phone or digital gadgets. And again, once again, I would suggest you to go back and watch the video which we had suggested earlier, which talks quite a lot about the dynamics, the algorithms, or the trap that is there in all these social media platforms. So another one or two more books which we would recommend is Hooked, How to Build Habit-Forming Products. That's another book. Yuval Noah Harari's, it's more of a historical perspective, but then 21 lessons for the 21st century, how digital gadgets are invading into almost every aspect, every facet of our life. It's beautifully articulated with examples which all of us can easily understand, or all of us can easily relate with. But then if you're looking for a little more well-researched, in-depth work, then there is another one by Sushana, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. So these are some of the books which we would suggest to you. And once again, I mean, it's not propaganda of a video, but then Social Dilemma is close to reality kind of a video, which is more realistic because it's actually a bunch of people who were actually working for these social media platforms who came out and started speaking about how much of it is influencing the people of our times. So it comes straight from the horse's mouth, if I can put it differently. So it's really a good one. There are, as ma'am was also pointing out, there are only two industries that call their customers as users. One is illegal drugs and the other one is software. Software is actually designed, or software and the digital gadgets are designed to make users get addicted to all of these devices. That's another kind of a stinker or a kind of a pointer that we wanted to leave with you. So we've spoken enough about setting a context about what is the topic that we have chosen for discussion, and the relevance of, or rather the need for digital detoxification in that context. Yeah. So as ma'am was also mentioning, neither of us rather, is suggesting a complete abandonment of all the digital gadgets. That's not possible at all. What we are suggesting is more of a mindful usage. Being mindful of the time that we are spending, being mindful of what the intentions are behind all of these social media platforms or any of these social media companies, because there is a huge trap which actually consumes a lot of your time, your energy, your resources, which are counterproductive. Yeah, it's more of a word of caution than a sort of a lecture is what we thought while we designed this presentation. We are more than happy to take questions if there are any, because we have another couple of minutes more if the organizers permit to interact with you, to clarify, because otherwise it would have been only a one-sided narrative. Let's make it a dialogue. If there are questions, if there are more things to add on, if there are apprehensions, we're not claiming we'll be in a position to answer all your questions because we aren't experts. We just have an interest in the subject, but still we'll make an attempt to give you some, probably some half-baked answers, some lead here and there, some references, some suggestions, which might clarify your doubts, your questions, your concerns. So we stop here, and we also share our contact details. If anyone is interested in having further extended conversations with one of us or with both of us, more than happy. We could do also, if there are people interested doing some research too, we are interested doing some sort of a collaborative work. So at that point, or with that note, I wish to wind up. Rather, happy to take a few questions if there are any.
No questions as of now? Hello, students, all are there? There may be many questions, confusions between themselves, but then they won't maybe call up you later. Wafa?
Okay, in that case, we are leaving our contact details here. Thank you very much, Providence Women's College, for this opportunity. Thank you for staying this long. Sorry, apologies for a slight delay. We took about 10 or 15, 10 minutes of your time more. Sorry for that, but then we had to do justice to the topic as well. So let's stay connected. If there are more platforms wherein we could share our thoughts, learn from each other, we are more than happy to do that. So if there is anything as a last remark, Pranami ma'am wish to make, I invite Pranami ma'am, and then we can wind up our discussion.
Thank you, sir. I'm really thankful to the organizing committee, the participants for inviting, thinking of something such as that's like need out there. This is a very important context, and especially the students that they stayed here for this long and listened to us. I'm really thankful to everyone.
Thank you, sir. It was a very wonderful session, and we got to know so much regarding the topic. Now I call upon Nifra for the vote of thanks.
Honorable guests, Professor Rishikesh and Dr. Pranami Sharma, our beloved HOD, Ms. Deepa Ashok, R&D Cell Coordinator, Ms. Priyadarshini, Ms. Sangeeta, all other faculty members, and my dear friends. It's my privilege to have been asked to propose vote of thanks on this wonderful occasion. On the behalf of Business Administration Department and R&D Cell Groups, could like to extend heartfelt gratitude to Chief Guest Professor Rishikesh sir and Dr. Pranami Sharma ma'am for sharing your valuable time to be with us and enlighten us on the topic doomscrolling. Thank you, Professor Rishikesh sir, for giving us a deep insight into doomscrolling and how it affects our daily life. Sir also explained about technology addiction, and that's when I realized how common it has become in today's world, and we see it as normal thing. No one realizes how serious they are. Thank you so much for us. Thank you so much, sir, for making us aware of them. I also wish to express my gratitude to Dr. Pranami ma'am for giving an excellent coverage to digital detoxification methods. It was very helpful, and we will do our best to change our life for better. Once again, I would like to mention our deep, sincere sense of appreciation to both Professor Rishikesh sir and Dr. Pranami ma'am for this wonderful and informative section. With overwhelming delight, let me extend my sincere gratitude and appreciation to Ms. Deepa Ashok, Ms. Nimisha ma'am, R&D Cell coordinators, members of R&D Cell, and all other faculty members for their unrelenting support and guidance. And before I conclude, let me place on record my sincere appreciation to all the participants for your cooperation in making this session a great success. Once again, thank you all for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank
Can
you,
we
ma'am.
go to the meeting now?
Yeah.
Thank you everyone. Stay happy, stay healthy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all.